Hey writer, if you're ready to level up, then buckle up. Get your pen and paper ready. It's time for another episode of the Art and Business of Writing podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of the Art and Business of Writing podcast. I'm your host, Chris Jones, and today I want to tell you a really quick story that may be unfolding even in your own communities. So where I live, at every intersection, there is a very large and prominent sign that discourages motorists from giving financial assistance to panhandlers. Panhandlers are typically people who stand on the side of the road with some sort of signage. They're asking for generosity from the general public. Maybe they've lost a job. Maybe they've been displaced. But at any rate, they stand on the corner and they look for people to provide money to them as they drive by or as they stop at the stoplights. So, like I said, our city has ordinances that has signs on every major intersection that just tells people not to panhandle, but it doesn't discourage the panhandlers. They continue to do it anyway. And, I'm a generous dude. Like, if I see someone on the side of the road down on their luck, of course I'm going to give them a couple of bucks out of the wallet if I got it. But it got me to thinking about things that I do see online it's become very prominent. I've been on Instagram and I've been on Twitter quite a bit. Twitter more than Instagram lately. And one of the things that I've noticed, or I've come to notice, is this whole idea that I call creative panhandling. It's really no different than financial panhandling on the street. It's the same exact concept. So what happens is a person will have a product. Maybe they've got a free ebook, or they've got some sort of paid ebook, or some sort of service that they have to offer. And what they do is they get on the thread and they just blast it over and over and over and over. And so what you'll see is you'll go into your Twitter feed or your Instagram feed, and it's just the same thing. Buy my book for 99 cents. Buy my product for this. I really need someone to pick up my product on this. And what it becomes is that it takes you from being someone who's created something that initially you believe to have value to you're someone who's pushing a product onto someone. You just want anybody to get it. And there are a few thoughts I've got about that. Number one, when you creative panhandle, what you're telling the general public isn't that you've got a service that they need. You're telling them that you don't know who your audience is. You're telling the general public that you have not identified your audience. And you just want anybody to pick up your product or your book or your service. And that's not what you want. When you develop a product or a service, even when you write a book, you really want to make sure that you know who you're writing to, that you understand who your target market is, and you go straight to your target market. There's an old saying that if everybody is your market, then nobody is your market. And so for those, if that sounds like you, if you're someone who's engaged in what I call creative panhandling, take a step back, look at the product you're offering, look at the service you're offering, look at the book you're trying to promote, and ask yourself, am I better suited using a particular hashtag? Am I better suited working on building an email list and selling it directly to people who want it? Am I better suited creating a different way to promote this that doesn't look like I'm begging or panhandling, but instead that I'm being very direct, deliberate, and targeted by how I get it? Even if you're changing the wording, as opposed to saying, hey, buy my book for 99 cents on Kindle, say, this is a science fiction book that Harry Potter readers would love. Grab it for 99 cents. Being very targeted, knowing who your audience and your demographic is, will make you look like less of a creative panhandler and more like someone who is marketing to an audience. Number two, a way to avoid creative panhandling is to know where to find your audience. Maybe if you're promoting your stuff on a particular social media channel and you're not gaining any traction, your audience is not there. Maybe those people there are not the people that you want to sell to. You may want to try to put it on Instagram. And if Instagram is not working, maybe it's LinkedIn, maybe it's Pinterest, maybe it's Facebook. But you've got to figure out where the people who want your product, service, or book may be hanging out, and then really dial into that space. And it may take you a little bit of time to do that. It may take you weeks. It may take you a month. But you've got time, and you should make time to figure out where those people are and then to go find them. Because then once you found them, you found your vein of gold. You found the people who want what you've got and who are willing to buy from you. Number 3, how do they want it? Do people want you to continue to blast links, or do they want you to take them on a journey? What I've learned, my wife has begun to do TikTok videos. And what I'm learning about this is that people want to be entertained to a certain level. Not that you have to go sing and dance to sell books or services or products to, people, but that you've got to figure out what that entertainment intersection is, that sweet spot of where you can grab their attention. Maybe it's doing a reel. Maybe it's doing a TikTok video. Maybe it's doing some sort of a promo or some sort of an image card. But figuring out how to best capture their attention, because everyone everywhere is pining for somebody's attention, and you have to become an expert at gaining that attention. So figuring out how to position your product, service, or book in such a way that you can gain attention from potential readers or buyers. And then 4, how can you help them to get it? How can you make it easy for them to acquire? So thinking again back to where you're putting it, one of the things that frustrates me about Instagram is that you can post a lot of things, but you can't put links in there. So it makes it a harder process to get people to convert from Instagram. Yes, you can use like services like links, for the link in your bio, and then people can go through that. But that's an extra step that people have to make. One thing I do like about Twitter is that you can click right on the Twitter post, and off you go to the storefront. Whether that's Amazon or a particular website or wherever that may be. And the same thing with Facebook, LinkedIn. You go straight to the storefront. So it takes the barrier of entry down. And so you want to figure out ways to knock the barrier of entry down so that people can get what you're trying to offer a lot faster with fewer steps. And that continues to help you to not feel like such a hustler or a panhandler. You're making it very easy for people to provide what they need to get what they want. And then lastly, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to make the ask. You've been doing it so far. You're asking, but don't be afraid to position yourself in a way to ask people to make the sale. Sometimes we put stuff out there and say, "Oh, here's my book if you want to buy it," or that you just post a link to the book, but you don't give anybody a call to action, and you just post it over and over and over without any clear-cut call to action, what the benefit is to the user. So don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to tell people why they should buy your book. Don't be afraid to tell people what they're going to get when they click on that button, because people do want to know ahead of time. People want to understand what they're getting in return for the time they're about to spend looking at your post or buying your product or picking up your book. They want to know that they're going to get something that's worthwhile. So, back to the example, be very careful online to not look like a creative panhandler, do not to look too desperate, to not, do price reductions too rapidly. If your book is 99 cents this week, don't drop it down to free within 3 days or a week, but give it some time, give people time to see things. One thing I learned from being in the production world on magazines, as a magazine editor also, is that with advertisers can lose patience really quickly. Within an issue or two, if they're not getting any traction, they're ready to pull their money out of the magazine. And the whole thing is that with magazine advertisements, that people need to develop trust. There's this thing called the referral confidence curve, where trust has to be built over time. So when people see your ad in a production like a magazine, 4, 5, 6 times, then that confidence that you're there and you're around is going to increase with them, and then they're likely to buy from you. And it's the same thing online. When people are looking and they're seeing you be consistent online, and you're sharing not just your product, maybe you're sharing other things that you do, other thoughts, but you're showing a fuller side of yourself, that confidence goes up. So you're not just the person who's on the street corner, panhandling once a week or once every couple of weeks when you have a need, but you're consistently out there giving something of value, sharing a bit about yourself, being a human being, interacting within the community. And that's what you want to do. So my episode today really is to encourage you, don't be a creative panhandler. Don't just blast your links and blast your links and blast your links with the hope that someone is going to buy it. But be very deliberate. Be very deliberate with how you approach your product, service, or book. Be very deliberate with the audience you're looking for. Know who it is you're talking to. Know why you're talking to them, and know what you offer them. All right, guys, if you have any comments, any further things you'd like to discuss, definitely hop onto the episode on the blog and let me know what your thoughts are. Again, be strong, be focused, be creative, and right on.
How's that for inspiring? I hope you take action on one thing you learned in today's episode. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast and left a review on iTunes, I want to encourage you to do that too. Finally, be sure to visit chrisjonesinc.com to sign up for updates. Don't worry, I won't spam you. And we'll see you back here next week for another episode.